Hey amigas, welcome back to another one of my videos. For those who don't know me, my name is Beverly, and for those that are returning, thank you guys so much for joining me today. In today's video, as you guys could see by the title, I'm very excited because I'm going to finally be upgrading my inkjet printer to this new one. Now, if you guys really want to see the whole inside scoop as to why I'm upgrading, pros and cons and things you can do with this method, go ahead and keep on watching. So first and foremost, I wanted to really say HP printer, which is this one, is my older printer, and then this 2803 Epson Ecotank is going to be the new one I'm upgrading to. Now, there is a lot of reasons as to why I'm upgrading my HP printer, and I would say it's just mainly because of growth, that I need something better and just something that works with the techniques that I'm going to be using for my business. Now, if you guys don't know, HP actually has an HP Instant Ink plan, which is really awesome, which you're just paying a monthly membership depending on how many pages you choose to print a month. Now, let's say if I have the 500 a month plan, that means I can print up to 500 pages a month with me getting ink straight to my door, never running out, right? So that's a good thing about it. And then if you have any leftover pages that month that you didn't use, they roll over to the next month and the next month and the next month. So in all reality, this is a good starter printer for your business if you're wanting to get started, maybe by printing invoices, by using color, and not having to worry about buying these cartridges in store and spending a ton of money, because it can get expensive and real quick. So I do like this one. This one is the HP Envy Photo 7855 printer. It's a great quality printer. I got it about 2 years ago from Staples when I started my business, and it was something that was good for me at the moment. Now, I will go ahead and talk a little bit as to why I am upgrading now. And it's just something, like I mentioned, my business, with the growth of your business or with the growth of anything, you tend to upgrade to better things. So it's not saying that I completely hate it, but there is some things that I did notice and I had experiences with that I would like to have those changes. So first and foremost, I wanted to kind of just reiterate on the story that happened to me not too long ago. I was suddenly printing a lot and I ran out of my colored ink cartridge. So therefore, I was like, well, the next one's coming. For those that don't know, HP Instant Ink plan actually notifies their headquarters when you're running low on your printer. It sends like a signal or something, or it's connected some way where it checks your ink levels. And this specific time, since I was printing so much within like a short time span, I happened to run out quick, so it didn't give them enough time to send it with time, since it was just so unexpected. And in reality, I ran out of my ink and I needed something quick. And if you guys don't know, with the HP Instant Ink plan, you can't really use other cartridges or else your plan pretty much gets paused. You can't borrow somebody else's cartridge and say, oh, whenever I get mine, like, I'll just switch it out, I'll switch you out. Technically, the ink cartridges that they send you, they have a chip inside, so it's notifying that that's with the Instant Ink plan and it's compatible with only your printer. So it's a little bit difficult to try to do that if you have a friend that has it, because my sister has the same printer as me and she's also on the Instant Ink plan, and it was just so difficult. But that was one thing that I did not like, that they did not want to refund me my money if I went into the store and bought a cartridge, because they said that pretty much wasn't their responsibility and whatnot. So that's really one of the only encounters I had with me not liking their plan, was because whenever I had ran out, they didn't really allow me to do anything other than just go buy the cartridge myself and spend my own money on it. Okay, so I will say, if you ever plan to print a lot in a short time span of time, just know that if you run out, you have to wait for the ink to come in, or you technically have to go out of your pocket and spend your own money on a new cartridge. So with that being said, these are both inkjet printers, so it's not like I'm upgrading to a different type of printer. They're similar in some aspects, but they're also different. So this one is a cartridge printer, which takes cartridges. So you need a tricolor cartridge and you need a black cartridge to make this one work, if you want to print in both color types, I'm assuming. And this one, on the other hand, if you are not wanting to get on a plan like this one, or if your printer that you have now currently doesn't have that option to be on an Instant Ink membership plan on a monthly basis, then an eco tank like this comes into play, and it's beneficial because you have tanks that you're filling up with a lot of ink and you have no cartridges. Therefore, your ink levels and everything is going to last you a lot longer in the long run, okay? But they're both the same inkjet printers. Both of these inks are not really water resistant. They're just meant to print on paper, cardstock, regular things that, you know, even if you get wet, they're still going to deteriorate because it's paper. So just keep that in mind. Now, for all my small businesses out there that probably want recommendations on making stickers and having them waterproof and things, I will give you guys some tips here because it's very important for you guys to know about these. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit more about those tips. So first and foremost, whenever you do think about making stickers or anything or printing on anything waterproof, you do have to make sure that you are first having a waterproof ink, and secondly, you also have a waterproof or water resistant material. By that being means, so if you're making stickers, you can expect your ink not to fade, but your paper to be put if your paper is just like a regular paper, sticker paper type of material. You would need something like printable vinyl, which is more of a plastic consistency. Therefore, whenever you print on it, it will allow you to print on it because it's printable vinyl, but it is a resistant type of material where it's not going to deteriorate once you add water onto it, so it's not going to like fall apart or anything. So it's a combination of the two, and it's so funny because whenever I was doing my research, I always thought it was just the ink, it was the ink, it was the ink, and I never thought about what material I was printing on until I realized I'm like, wait,
it takes two to tango, like.
You need to have the water resistant paper material, right? So it doesn't deteriorate or fall apart, but you also need an ink that's going to stay. So therefore, your inkjet ink is technically a dye ink, which is dye based. So therefore, dye ink, and I'll put a little chart here somewhere on the screen, is not really going to last as long as if it were pigment ink. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you guys how I convert my new Epson Ecotank 2803 to a pigment inkjet printer. So therefore, it's now going to be also great for stickers, hopefully keeping them water resistant and everything. We will be doing a lot of testing throughout this course, and I'm very excited to be doing that with you guys. And I'm going to be using Cosmos Pigment ink, and I'm actually going to be converting my printer over to a pigment ink printer. Now, what does that mean? It's still considered a regular inkjet printer for everyday printing, such as invoices, maybe making stickers, printing on cardstock, doing any of the regular things that I already did with my regular inkjet printer. But now it's kind of adding like an upgrade because the ink is always going to be water resistant no matter what material you put it on. At least that's what we're hoping for, right? Shout out to Julie's Tumblers on TikTok and Instagram. A great friend of mine, she did this over a year ago where she converted her printer with pigment ink on an Epson Ecotank printer, and she's made stickers and she's done a whole bunch of stuff, and it just really held up. And that's what really motivated me to go ahead and do the same with my printer and do that upgrade. Like I said, this is not for everyone, but if you're really trying to get something in-house and not so expensive, I would recommend this, grabbing yourself an Epson Ecotank printer and maybe some pigment ink and trying it out yourself. So let's go ahead and now talk about what exactly is pigment ink and how it could be beneficial to us. Alright, you guys, so I'm taking this little chart here, as you guys can see, and it's from the Ink Supply. I just found it on Google, and I researched this a couple months ago, and I thought it was really great information and I wanted to share. So as you guys can see, we're talking about the difference between dye and pigment ink, which they're both considered to be inside inkjet printers. So as you guys can see the summary, for your dye ink, waterproof is a negative. You really won't ever find dye ink that is considered waterproof just because that's how it is. The color vibrancy is showing 100% good all the way around. And for sun and UV light resistant, it's also showing very low with your dye traditional ink. Longevity wise, it's kind of in between. Your ink cost is going to be 100% cheaper, it looks like, when you go this route versus pigment ink. But also when you're printing on glossy paper, a lot of the times it's not good because it can tend to smear, which is something that has happened to me whenever I was in this journey about making stickers and just using printable vinyl all around. I did try different methods. I did try putting stickers outside, putting them on cars, putting them on cups, seeing how well they held up, and they didn't do so good. So that's whenever I started researching, well, like, I'm assuming that my printer is not the one I should be using for stickers. That's whenever it clicked, and I started doing more research into it, and I really looked into, well, what type of ink is considered to be inkjet, because we all hear inkjet printers are regular printers, but we never really hear what type of ink is it really. Like, it's not sublimation ink, it's not eco solvent ink. Like, what is it called? Like, what's the ink actually doing? So then that's whenever I researched this one, and I just typed into Google, what type of ink does my HP Envy 7855 actually take? And the results were shocking. Again, I didn't know what this meant until I started researching more about, but it did say it had the black cartridge was pigment and that the tricolored one was actually dye ink. So that's whenever I was like, well, what's the difference between dye and pigment? And now we have this chart for you guys. So like I said, shout out to The Ink Supply. That's where I found it, and it's showing now pigment ink is 100% waterproof. The color vibrancy is okay, like it's good, but it's showing that apparently with dye ink you're going to get better resolution. And then with sun and UV light resistant, it's going to be 100% resistant to that, which is something very good if you're wanting to make decals. Actually, longevity wise, 100% long lasting. Ink cost, it's going to be a little bit more expensive, but you know, it's like they say, sometimes good things will cost a little bit more, but it's worth it. So I'm very excited about this. And glossy paper, pigment ink is 100% also recommended for any type of project that's on glossy sticker paper or printable vinyl. So I'm very, very, very excited for that. And that's why I have decided to actually not use my printer with the ink that it comes with, but still keep it a regular inkjet printer for everyday printing, just by adding this pigment ink to it. I'm in hopes to find some better results in the future. Now, with this method being said, again, disclaimer, if you guys ever convert a printer, and converting is by you adding any ink other than the original one that it comes inside, that's where we cannot guarantee if this is, one, going to work all the way through, secondly, if it will clog your printer or not, and thirdly, just know that anytime that you add an ink that's not the original, you can clog your print heads or your printer in general. So do this at your own risk. Of course, we're all about teaching, helping, and inspiring here on this channel, so I wanted to go ahead and try it out with you guys. So now that I've talked a little bit about as to why I'm upgrading my printer, not only because I'm going to save ink, I'm also going to have better quality, I'm going to have a lot more waterproof resistant things that I'm going to be able to do. I'm super very duper excited to be trying this out, because I've had a lot of requests for people to make waterproof sticker decals, and I just have not been able to figure it out. So I'm hoping with this I have at least figured part of it out, and like I said, throughout this journey we will be experimenting and trying things out. So let's go ahead and for today's video convert our printer over. So we're gonna say bye bye to the HP and hello Epson. Okay, amigas, so you guys can see I pretty much took off all the blue tape. I have everything done. So now I'm just gonna go ahead and pull this out. But before we actually plug in our printer, I am going to be opening up this little lid here and filling all of my colors accordingly with the ink that goes like black, yellow, magenta, and cyan blue. So I'm going to be doing that before I actually power on my printer. Now, if you guys really want to see the full in-depth process as to how I convert a printer and everything, you guys can go check out my other video where I do so, and I convert my Epson Ecotank 15,000 over to Eco Solvent. Same process, you just add the colors in, you go online and update the drivers, which we'll talk a little bit more about that here shortly, but you guys are just going to see this a little bit faster speed because I've done this before. So let's go ahead and get to it. Amigas, sorry for the angle, but I needed a little bit better lighting. I did want to also say that when you're converting a printer, these are the original inks that it came with. I'm not actually going to be adding these inks because these are the regular dye ink. I'm actually going to be using a different set of ink, which is the Pigment ink that I got from Cosmos, and I'm going to be putting it into each one of these color tanks. Let me show you which one those are. I'm going to be using these right here, which these are the Epson 4 colors, and you guys can see they come in these type of bottles because I got the wrong bottles, but it has, these are more like for refills. As you guys can see, they have the name Pigment ink, and these are the actual ones I'm going to be using. But because I don't want to use actual syringes, I bought these extra bottles and I'm going to transfer them over. So while I do that, you guys will see the process, but I will be adding these so that way they fit accordingly into the tanks. Now, first I will say that you guys always want to grab your empty bottle and make sure the top fits onto that, just to make sure you're not doing this pretty much for no reason. So let's go ahead and do that. So the way that I'm going to try it out is I'm just going to open up one of these colors right here. You guys are going to be able to see that this bottle here should match the tip. So this front part should actually match here perfectly, which it does. So now that we know that it matches, we're going to go ahead and transfer all the inks into one of each of these little bottles, and we're going to label them separately. That way we know it's the Pigment ink and not any other type of ink before we actually go ahead and push it in. So in the long run, we'll have the refill bottles ready and we won't have this issue again because, you know, it is what it is. So let's go ahead and get to it. So I'm obviously prepared. I have my gloves ready because ink stains and it sucks and I hate it. So I have some of these, and we're also going to be using our empty bottles, which are these right here. And we also need our Pigment ink, which we're going to be transferring over. So let's go ahead and do that now. So we're gonna go ahead and just share a screen. So I went over to Epson.com and all I'm doing is searching up the printer that I have. It's the 2803 Epson Ecotank. And this is the part that's very important that a lot of people tend to miss. You have to install your printer to your computer, but also update the driver so you can get all of the settings possible to be able to print best quality, high quality type of paper you want, all the settings like mirror, everything. So I am going to go ahead and just click on my printer, the 2803, and just click support here or down here. Once you do that, it automatically takes you down to the downloads, and you can see it says utilities, drivers, and combo package installer, and it gives you this to download. So I would just going to go download it, and it's going to go ahead and add it to my printer. So I will just open that file. Automatically it wants to ask if you want to make any changes, so we'll hit yes and continue. And this is where it's installing the package driver. This is what a lot of people tend to miss. When I tell you, it's crazy. Even for sublimation, eco solvent, anything that you want, all of the actual settings, you need to go through the process of installing this by just searching it up on your computer by going to Epson. Okay, so it says, thank you for choosing the Epson product. Make sure your printer's turned on, which is ours is on. Have you finished filling all the tanks? Yes. And then hit next. Now this next part is just pretty much downloading the printer driver, like we mentioned, the most important part. And on our printer side, it's just saying that the initialization process is complete after the 11 minutes that it took. So I pretty much just got a head start and did that. Now it's saying align the print head to get the best quality. So we're gonna wait on that as we continue this part, okay? So let's go ahead and see what it says, and you guys will see the next step. And we're just gonna go align the print head to adjust now, and then print now. It's a print head nozzle check as well. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. And we already have paper in there. Let's go ahead and get this shown on the road. So that's going, and our computer is also connecting. So we're gonna do connect via wireless, network, and next. And yes, we want to enable the device sharing so you can find the printer. And here on the printer side, pretty much just gives us all this information. And it's saying, is everything good to go? Is there any missing segments? No. So we're just going to do no on here and adjust now and print. So we're doing all of the tests and everything. On this side, it's asking me the Wi-Fi setup, go to home screen, and then type that in. So we're gonna wait for the printer to be done so we can do this next step here. Okay, so it says look at the printout and choose the boxes with the least lines or on the next screen, select the number. So on row number 1, which is this one right here, the one with the least lines, look, it's a number 3. So we're just gonna go ahead and proceed. Number 2, the one with the least lines, look like it's the number 3 again. So we're gonna do okay. The one on number 3, the one with the least lines, is number 5. The one number 4 is probably number 3. Number 5 here is going to be number 6. And then these are the little segments here that we just want to look at. 6, I would say, is most likely number 4. And then 7 is going to be, I would say, 6. So now we're going to do another test and then hit print. And it's going to do the same thing. It says choose rectangles that are not separated or overlapped. So now we're doing this test here. And on number 1, we are going to say probably number 4. And then we are done. So now that that is done, we are going to go based off of what our computer says, and we are going to the Wi-Fi settings, network settings, Wi-Fi setup, searching SSID, and then we're just going to add our password here. Now that it's setting up, we put in the password now. So we are just going to go ahead connect network setup, like showing here. Setup is in process, please wait. So it's pretty much connecting the router to the computer, but also to the printer. So it's all three devices will be connected together. So that's what we're doing now. Here on the printer, we're just gonna go to home and the printer is set up and ready to go. All right, so there's a printer. We're gonna hit next. And now we are going to successfully add it over to our computer here. And as you guys can see, it's a license agreement, select options, setup, installation, functions, and everything. If you did not change the password after purchasing the product, enter the serial number on the product label as the password. So we have not, so now we're just going to go ahead and enter the serial number. I'll skip over this and go over to the next part. So let's go ahead and do that now. All right, so now you guys can see that by updating the actual printer driver, it says installed, lets you control all aspects of printing, such as your paper type, paper size settings, paper quality settings, etc. So this is what we wanted, and this is why you update the printer driver, so you are able to control all of that. Now, this is specifically for Epsons. I'm not sure any other model types if you have to do this, but I know with Epson Ecotanks, you are supposed to do this in general, just so you are able to get the best settings for anything that needs to be done. So I am installing this one, and here shortly, it's going to allow me to add it to my computer. So therefore, we're going to do our first ever print, and we'll just print something with lots of color and see if it comes out good. And I'll also show you how to do so. And this, you could be printing off of any software such as Adobe, your cutting machine software, or just Google in general, saving something over and then printing it. You should get these options now that you have installed your driver. So it's very important. And this is why I wanted to make this lengthy YouTube video, just so you guys can see that process. So I'm gonna let this finish installing and then I'll show you the rest. Okay, so now we're gonna do the print a test page, and it should already be connected over to the printer. Keep in mind the printer has already been set up, so now it's printing over here. We're just gonna go ahead and do okay, print, and it should print. And it says congratulations, your Epson product has been set up, your printer, and all of that. So it's good to go. Here we're just gonna go ahead and hit next, and it's just checking the firmware. Usually I don't like to do any updates to my printers, just because I feel like if in the future your quality and everything can change, so I disregard anything usually, but it always likes to do it the first initial time and get it updated to the most current. So I just let this finish off and we'll go ahead and do next. And it says your product is ready to use. So we're going to finish it off. And now that it has finished, we're going to go into settings, Bluetooth and devices, printers and scanners. And we have the 2800 here already, 2720, all of these other ones. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is just open this one up. And I am going to print a test page, make sure everything's good to go. And yes, it is connected. All right, so now bonus clip, we're gonna go ahead and print something. I'm just gonna open up my Create software, just because this is what I like to print through. You can print through any software that you want or straight from your computer. But I pretty much just want to show you the process and how I'm able to change my print settings without actually printing something. But I'm just gonna go ahead and show you guys how you're able to do that. I'm going to go ahead first and just wait for this to open up. Once it does actually open up, I will go through that process with you guys. So whenever I go to File, I am just going to go ahead and go to Import. And I'm just going to import any image that I like. And I'm going to head over after, once it's loaded, I will go over to Create and go to Print plus Cut, which is the screen I need to be on. I'm going to go to Create, Print plus Cut, and Print. This is where I usually print from whenever I'm doing something for my cutting machine. I'm going to use my 2803, my newest printer that I just installed. I'm going to head to Properties, and here you can see that I can change and use any of these settings for my printer, but I'm going to do 8.5 by 11 standard. I can now change it to any type of paper that I want to use, as before you wouldn't be able to do all these. And you can also do high quality. You can go to more options. You can take off the bidirectional printing. You can go to custom, advanced, color controls. You can change the color mode. You can do a lot more, and as well as mirror your image if you wanted to. So this is why it's very important to install and update your drivers, you guys, because that way you have a lot more settings. Okay, amigas, so that concludes today's video on why I converted over my Epson Ecotank over to a Pigment printer, but also why I left my old HP printer. And I really do hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope I was super detailed. If you guys have any other questions, please feel free to leave it down in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and turn on your post notification bell so you're notified every time I upload a new video. You guys, I want to stay uploading a lot more now that the new year's coming. I also wanted to wish you guys a Merry Christmas. I know we are already past that, but I hope you guys had a good one. I'll catch you guys next time. Bye, amigas.